I've heard the term limiting belief a lot these days, and actually, I do work with limiting beliefs specifically and letting go of subconscious limiting beliefs. One of the biggest challenges I find that people have when they're trying to get rid of those beliefs that are actually sabotaging what they want to do in their lives is that they think a limiting belief is connected to something traumatic. And that's not always the case. Limiting beliefs are oftentimes from some of the most subtle, mundane events in our past. Limiting beliefs are not conscious decisions. They're made at the unconscious level, and usually it's because we're trying to create some sort of understanding around the things that we see or experience or feel within ourselves that maybe we're not fully aware of how to deal with at the time, especially if we're children. So I challenge you to expand and open your perspective around where these limiting beliefs might have originated from. Because what I've found is that people are usually aware of the expression, the manifestation of the limiting belief, but they're not truly aware of the limiting belief itself. So for example, there may be a belief that was created from something a long time ago, which has long been forgotten, but the only belief that you're aware of could be something as simple as, I'm not good enough. And you may not know why you don't feel good enough. You just know that you don't feel good enough. So on the surface level, in your everyday life, you can probably notice that expression of the limiting belief and kind of that surface belief of I'm not good enough. But when you try to figure out where the heck it came from, sometimes it can be really hard to pinpoint that. So that's where it becomes helpful to explore some of those other events that maybe have flown under the radar as not important, as just another day that perhaps could have affected you in a more profound way. Not because it was traumatic or super painful, but because there was a belief and a perspective that was created at that particular time. And where people limit themselves is they're looking for something painful, they're looking for something traumatic, but as I said, there's not always something huge and traumatic that is the root of that belief. And so I had a client recently who she's been having a hard time receiving money or believing that it's possible for her. And she's very successful. She's very talented in the work that she does, but she couldn't figure out why she felt so wrong about having more money than she needed. So there was nothing traumatic that happened to her that she could attribute to that belief. And so as we dug deeper, and you know, in this case, it's kind of just looking over the course of your life. For her, we had to look specifically at money. What were some of those times when your views about money were shaped? And not because something traumatic happened, but simply because you might have observed something, you might have overheard something in regards to money. So in her case, her dad was a dreamer, and they loved to go look at these mansions and just dream into the possibility of one day having a mansion or living that affluent lifestyle. But as she was walking around with her dad in that very happy, amazing moment of just this wide-eyed child taking in all that was around her, all of that abundance, all of the opulence that she walked into and wasn't used to, that's when the belief was born. And it was something so subtle that she didn't even know that that's where it came from. And that deeper belief was, yeah, it happens for other people, but not for me, right? These amazing things can happen for others, but not for me. And specifically when it came to money. success stories, looking at the evidence of how many people have become successful in her line of work, or even something unconventional, it still didn't make a connection in her mind that it was possible for her. So that really told us where we could go in her release work to begin untangling that belief, letting it go, and then creating some new, more positive beliefs that are going to support the goals that she has for her future. So that's an example of nothing traumatic happening. Actually, it was a good memory that she was tapping into. However, her perception of money and her or her family's ability to have that overflow when it came to money or possessions or a place to live, that was profoundly affected in that moment where she looked at her current life and she looked at the outside circumstance of this beautiful mansion and couldn't quite make that connection. So remember that a lot of the limiting beliefs, these subconscious beliefs that are created throughout the course of our lives, they're very subtle, they're very automatic, but they're very powerful as well in the way that they insert themselves and weave themselves into your everyday life through the years, year after year, until you're actually looking intentionally for that root cause. And then you work through the challenges and the beliefs that say it's not possible for you, because it's your belief that sets everything up. So this week, I challenge you to explore what are some of my beliefs around this area of life that I can connect to things in my past. Okay, so it doesn't have to be anything traumatic, but just connect that one area of life. So it might be family, it might be money, it might be career, it might be relationships, it might be physical health. But if you just stick with one area and you start to reflect on the entire course of your life, you can probably find some significant moments in your past where you could say, why is this popping up as I think of my physical health over the course of my life? And just follow that breadcrumb. I would suggest journaling about it so that you can start to unravel what was that past perspective that you had at that moment in time, and how might it have shaped your beliefs today or the way that you live your life today. And that's a great place to start. A lot of people find that they can identify what the limiting belief is, but then they don't quite know how to release that. And so if that's you and you can relate to that experience, I highly encourage you to reach out to me. What I do is facilitate the experiences and the processes that will help an individual release and restructure the belief at the unconscious level. It's very fun and exciting work, and if that feels like something that you are interested in, please don't hesitate to reach out. There's information on how to book a free consult with me below. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.